If you clicked this video, chances are you're at a point in your life where you feel trapped, burned out, and ready for some sort of reawakening. And if you're in your 30s or early 40s like me, and you've never done solo travel before, it can be an intimidating proposition because while you are excited about all of the adventures that await you, you've never done it before. And so it's natural to feel a little bit of apprehension. For me personally, it completely changed my outlook on life, and I've redesigned every aspect of my life since returning from Croatia, which was my first solo trip. And so I wanted to record this to give you some idea of what you can expect and 7 reasons why you should absolutely book this trip because it's going to change your life. Reason number 1 why you need to pull the trigger on your first solo trip is to just escape your environment. Everything is predictable. You kind of have your routine, you know what to expect, and even if you're a very high performance person, there really aren't any surprises. And so if you want to reset, if you want to reinvent yourself, if you need to heal and you need space to do that, a solo trip can be that space that you need. It can provide a completely different environment and get you outside of your bubble. Which brings me to the second reason why you need to do this, which is to embark on a new challenge in your life. We don't grow by doing the same thing for the 500th time or the 1,000th time. After a while, things get dull, things get stale. And so if you have a growth mindset, if you want to have some new experience in your life that can unlock some new level, a solo trip is exactly the challenge you need because you're going to go from an environment where you essentially know the playbook, you know how to operate it, you can do it sleepwalking, and you're going to find yourself in a completely new puzzle where you have to figure out the language, the culture, how things work, how to communicate well enough to survive. And you're going to go through different levels of anxiety, just like I did when I landed in Croatia. I exited the airport. I went to the bus stop. I'm waiting for the bus. I'm trying to decipher the languages and the maps, and I think I've got a good grasp on it, but I'm being solicited by taxi drivers. I'm feeling uncomfortable here and just wanting to get to where I'm staying. And then I got on the bus. And once it showed up, then I kind of started to relax a little bit. Take in the city. Start to see the ocean, and then start to see some of the ancient landscape, the castles, and everything just started to feel like, okay, this is the right decision. And then before you know it, I get off the bus, I'm walking through downtown Split, and I make eye contact with a woman. I smile, as is the custom from where I'm from in Texas, where hospitality and friendliness. And she almost scowls at me and says something that I'm pretty sure was derogatory, and I would later come to realize that that's just a cultural difference and not to take it personally. But things like that. And then the behavior of my taxi driver got cut off by another taxi driver, and then these two start escalating the argument. It almost looks like they're going to get into a fist fight. And where I come from, when people do that, it will end up in a fight. And yet they got it out of their system, they worked it out, and the next thing you know, I'm continuing on to my next destination. So things like that challenged me. But on the other side of that challenge and maybe just not understanding things, eventually it comes into focus. And which brings me to the third thing, which is on the other side of that challenge is confidence. And once you do start to get the lay of the land, once you get comfortable with the greetings, and once you get a smile from somebody, and once you have a fantastic meal, and maybe get over eating by yourself in a restaurant for the first time, you start to realize that, nobody cares. And here you are on the other side of the world, and you're hearing different sounds, and people seem to be smiling in a more relaxed pace, especially over in Europe in the evenings. And just you start to soak in the vibe and realize you've traveled all the way across the world. You've navigated transportation, you've navigated accommodations, you've gone out and you've actually explored, and you've stumbled and you've misspoken and you haven't been able to communicate and you've had to rely on apps, but you made it, you did it. And then you start to get comfortable with that. And that's when your confidence starts to grow, and you start to, within a day or so, you really start to settle in, and you wake up, and every time you step foot outside and you go on an excursion, or you're just walking through the city or at a coffee shop and observing life around you, you really just start to appreciate it. And that confidence within yourself to know that, hey, I did it. I confronted some uncomfortable situations, and I'm here and I'm doing just fine. And actually, this is pretty amazing. And you unlock this new level of yourself. And I think that's really important because it kind of feeds into the fourth thing, which is the happiest couples and the most compelling people are those who are independent. It's people who can figure out how to solve things on their own. It's people who are comfortable in silence. It's people who have something that they're enthusiastic about and want to go explore or do that fills their tank. And I think if you've never been on a solo trip before, and if you've been in relationships most of your life, or if you've always been used to being around people, right? If you're the kind of person who has to always be out on the weekends and you've always got to be social, then this will be a challenge for you because you're going to find yourself alone with nobody to talk to sometimes. But the independent version of you, the one that maybe on previous vacations you had to compromise and you had to spend 35 minutes, debating on what you should do that day, or you're wasting time. Maybe you like to get up early and get out and go to a walk, and everybody else is very, very different. And you just get to this point where you just waste a lot of energy. And here you find yourself on this solo trip, and you get to make all of the decisions and what you want to plan on the day you want to do it, or if you want to call an audible and go do something different, or if you just want to lay around all day. You don't have anybody who's putting pressure on you to do anything. And you start to kind of become at peace with yourself because whatever it is that brings you the most joy, you get to go do it. And that is a pretty empowering experience because you start to develop a more independent version of you. And that independence is something you get to take back home with you and something you continue to build on. And it really is a beautiful thing when you start to kind of discover what your identity is, and to be at peace with being in many different kinds of situations and to get comfortable with it. I found myself at first really kind of worrying about what it would be like to go eat alone out. And then after a while, I just started to embrace it and to enjoy it and to be like, here I am, I'm by myself, right? I get to, how I want to spend the rest of the night, I get to go do it. How long I want to sleep in tomorrow, totally up to me. Where I want to go next, it's my itinerary. And I really, really enjoyed that. It's amazing how much different the experience is when you get to own it and you just get to live in the moment and appreciate it. The next thing is you are going to acquire a wealth of perspective. You are going to bump into some really interesting people. You are going to find different ways to connect with them. It is amazing how much we can communicate through sign language. And of course, apps make things so much easier to communicate across language barriers nowadays. But I've been so amazed at different ways, facial expressions, and even just a simple smile, and how saying hello to somebody and hearing their story for a couple minutes. Or when I was in Croatia, I decided to go zip-lining across a canyon, and I met this couple from Germany on that experience. And then sure enough, afterwards, we went and had a beer. That beer turned into us going out and having dinner. And the three of us now have met in 4 other countries, and I've got friends in Germany. I've visited them twice. I've been to a wedding with them. I've gone to their wedding more recently. And it's just cool, the friends that you'll make. And I bumped into other people who were from all over the world, and just to kind of ask them about the country that they're from and some of the other places they've been. And you just start to realize, wow, I've just barely scratched the surface here. And even the experiences you go on. I love nature, and I love architecture and history. I don't like the touristy stuff. So I did a lot of stuff that was not off the beaten path, but was just put me around people who shared a passion for being outdoors, and people who were maybe a little bit more physically fit and adventurous. And it's amazing how when you're around people, you share some of those things in common, especially other people traveling the world. be it a couple, be it a group, or maybe another solo traveler. I remember I went on up to Lake Plitvice in Croatia from Split, and I met this girl on that trip, and then we went and had dinner together, and then we met up. She was with another friend down in Dubrovnik. I met a whole group of English girls who were on holiday, first time they'd seen each other, old friends, and went on an excursion, snorkeling and to some different islands, and I connected with them, and I would end up going out and having dinner with them and bumping into two of them later on and flying on back on a different flight. And just some of the friendships that you make is really cool. So you're going to meet really cool people, you're going to have conversations, you're going to learn, you're going to have experiences that just give you an appreciation for all of this world has to offer, and it's going to enrich your soul. And I think that's something, whatever it is you're into, you may be into completely different things, but you get to go experience it. And I think just the realization that the world is massive and this little bubble we live in, which is our reality, it doesn't have to be our reality. It doesn't have to be a limitation. It doesn't have to be a trap. It can just be a balance between the two. Or if you're like me, you may just decide that, I love to travel so much that I'm going to figure out a way to design my life around it and then go do it. And so you're going to find inspiration, which is the sixth thing. You're in somehow, some way, you will be inspired by a new craft that you discover, by a new place you visit that you just fall in love with, by a friend that you make and stay in touch with, or even just learning that this was a horrible experience for you, but you made it, right? It's going to teach you something about yourself that's going to inspire you to make some change in your life that is going to allow you to continue to grow in a new and different and spectacular way that you never would have gotten if you chose not to do this trip. And that kind of leads me into the last thing, which is just energy. You're going to fill your tank. You're going to come back, even if it's the exhilaration of survival, of like, oh, I did this, or that experience was kind of rough, but now I can laugh about it. Now I've got these interesting stories to tell. And, I just feel like my life is more interesting because I've now done things that are beyond my normal daily routine that everybody around me thinks and does and acts and just repeats over and over and over until we all slowly die, right? This is your opportunity to go out there and to live a little bit. And no matter what happens, it's going to give you some jolt of energy and some appreciation and gratitude for all that you have, but all that is out there waiting to be discovered. And that, to me, is the transformational part about it. I came back and decided I'd been living my whole life backwards. I was living to work. And instead, what I needed to do was actually focus on living fully and then figure out a way to fund that. And so I've completely reinvented my life. I've got a totally new blueprint, and it's working for me, and I'm happier than ever. And I've now been to 14 countries over the last 14 months, and I don't think any of that would be possible if I didn't have the initial experience in Croatia that gave me the confidence and the inspiration and the perspective and all these beautiful things I've just described to you that are waiting for you to discover about yourself. And it is just a life-changing experience. So just to kind of recap, what's waiting for you when you book that ticket and you hop on that plane, right? You're going to have all that anxiety once you get there. It's finally happening. But escaping your environment, embracing new challenges, it's going to strengthen your character and give you confidence and a renewed or next level sense of independence, which can only help you. It's going to expand your perspective. It's going to inspire you to live better. And it's going to refill your tank. It's going to give you energy. And what you do with that, you get to choose. But I can tell you this, when you get back, you're going to have stories and you're going to have memories that will never disappear and that will continue to inspire you. And I'm so excited for your journey. And if you have any other questions or any other apprehensions, chances are I've been through some experience and I would be happy to help. So please drop something in the comments. What are your questions? What are your fears? What are you most looking forward to? And I'd love to know where you're headed and why, because maybe I decide to put a pin on a map and go there myself. So thank you so much for watching. If you are the kind of person who wants to live a happier, healthier life, if you love to travel and you want to do it on a budget, if you just want to find new and better ways to live fully and to appreciate all life has to offer, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next video.